born in Poland. My name is Jacek Siwek. I came here back in 1996. I didn't come here because I wanted a better quality of life. I didn't know how Canada is. I came out of desperation. And truthfully, a lot of immigrants come because of that reason. There is something back home that they reach a point where they realize they can't live like this anymore, and they have to move. And it was the same thing for me. I grew up with quite abusive father. My mom couldn't take the abuse, so she decided to leave, and she thought maybe within a year or two she'll take the kids to Canada. How many of you thought that you're going to be successful within 1 year or two? 3, 5, 6 years later, you're still in the same spot. Well, it took her 9 years to get the kids to Canada. And although it was not easy, today I am so grateful that this process took place. Today I have that freedom that I couldn't even dream of when I was growing up, because I get to do things that for most people is absolutely impossible. And when I say about freedom, I say doing what you want, when you want, with whomever you want, for as long as you want. When nobody is telling you what time you gotta wake up, what time you gotta go to bed, what time you gotta eat, how long is your lunch, where you're gonna pee. It's you own your life. I believe that most of you are here, started your own business because of that reason, because you wanted to own your life. But when you work for somebody else, I don't care how hard you work, most of people feel like they're building somebody else's dream. They're living somebody else's life because they're building somebody else's life. And I don't want you guys to live like this. Now, an immigrant has to go through enormous challenges, enormous challenges. It's not one little thing that they have to do, right? It's like 7 steps to success, 3 steps to success, one thing you do and you're gonna be successful. For an immigrant, he's gotta do 1,000,000 things in order to adapt to the new country, right? I mean, if you want to switch from one country to the other, one major thing you gotta do is decide. And for most people, the decision comes from pain. When you see a country and there is maybe 1,000, 2,000 people emigrated from that country looking for a better way of life, but when a war happens in that country, what happens? Millions all of a sudden, no papers, no family, no support, no money, millions are leaving. Was it easier previously? Or was it easier during the war? But a pain when you realize it's been bad before, it's worse right now, I'm gonna die if I stay here. Then people move, then people make a shift. So it is all starting from a decision. And if you guys wanna be successful in life, it all starts from the same thing. I realize that people who have become successful, they go through the same process like people who have immigrated. Exactly the same. They gotta make a decision. And usually the decision is not because they wanted something better, it's because they had so much pain that they couldn't bear it anymore. And said, I ain't living like this. It's a point of decision. Decision, that actual word comes from a Latin word that says to cut off any other possibilities. Because an immigrant doesn't do a little visit. He doesn't come to a country for a 2-week period and then says, I don't like it, I'm gonna go back. How am I gonna pay for my vacation now? An immigrant comes and does whatever it takes, right? You sleep on the street, you sleep on the street. You walk because you can't afford a bus, you walk because you can afford a bus. You can't communicate with anybody, too bad. You do whatever it takes. But it comes from the moment of, I have decided because I have strong enough why. If you guys want to be successful, you got to have strong enough why. This is by far the most important part. I would say 50% of success is from people who have strong enough why. Everything else, mindset, mechanics, blueprints, everything else, it's a lot less important than that. Then the next one, for every immigrant, you got to do paperwork. And you hate it, don't you? Nobody likes paperwork, but you have to do the same. You got to do if you want to immigrate, you got to do the paperwork. If you want to immigrate to success, you got to start your corporation. You got to have most likely more than one. You got to have operating company. You got to have holding corporation. You got to learn about taxes, you got to learn about sales, you got to learn about a whole bunch of things. It's the same process. Now, learning a new language, this is one of the big challenges, isn't it? You come to Canada and you don't speak a word in English. What do you do? Right? People think you're an idiot. Even you could be a doctor back in your country with PhD, with all the stuff. You come here, you don't know how to say, where's the washroom? And people think you're not smart. It is not easy. Now, this is how you can become a very successful person very, very quickly. Ask. If you want to learn a language, what do? You ask, what does this mean? And they'll tell you. And then tomorrow you forget. You ask again. And then you forget. And you ask again. You ask 15 times, what does this thing mean? And they'll tell you it's a table. And you get it. Guess what? If you don't ask, you will always be stupid. You might feel, hey, if I ask this question, because the guys are talking about hedging my funds, the guys are talking about ETFs and index funds, and they're talking about investment. This is a language I don't understand. I'm going to sound stupid if I ask this question. You overcome that challenge because for most immigrants, they have to first humble themselves and ask very simple questions. Where's the washroom, right? What's this? Oh, that's a toilet paper. And they got to explain you simple things like to a child. In financial world, people use a different language, right? My wife asked me, she's like, teach me some Polish. And I'm like, okay, here, hon. This is in English, the same words. These are in Polish. 5 words in English, there's like gazillion of them in Polish, right? It's challenging. You want to go to a next level, right? You start talking to people who are financially successful. They speak different language. They communicate differently. They talk about not problems like in the unsuccessful world. They talk about challenges. They have different words for different things, right? I came to Canada and what they told me, that the underground train is called Metro. That's what they told me. So I go to Metro and people buy groceries. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Right? I'm looking for underground trains. So they said, go to Subway. This is Canada. So I go to Subway. People eat sandwiches. I mean, it's confusing. Because you have to learn what people speak in this language, what things mean. And in the financial world, is exactly the same thing. Hedging doesn't mean you go and cut the hedges, right? It means you position your money against inflation, for example, right? You protect it. There are certain words that financial people use in order for them to understand it, but you might feel stupid to ask, what does that mean? You go over your pride and you're like, you know what? I'm going to stop you. You said this one word I don't understand. And then you're going to become a lot quicker, a lot more financially literate than before. Financial people who are successful, they communicate differently. They have literally a translator in their head, okay? So they say, I should do it. I hear this all the time. I tell people, okay, here's the plan, this is how you can do it. And they said, yep, I should do this. The moment they say, I should do it, I already know what it means. It means they will never do it because it's a should. Financial people who are successful, know that the word should means it will never happen. The moment you say, I must do this, when you change your shoulds into musts, write this down. If you want to change your life, change this one word. Everyone knows what they should do. Everybody knows they should exercise. Everybody knows they should be nice to their mother. Everybody knows they should spend time with their kids. Everybody knows they should save for retirement. Everybody knows they should educate themselves. But successful people actually do it. Because for them, it's a must. It's not a should. Decision, paperwork, learning new language. But one of the reasons why people don't want to move to another country is because friends and family. They get comfortable. Like, what? If I go to another country, what about my uncle or my kid? What about my aunt? I got all my family friends here. I got nobody there, right? When you start being successful, guess what happens? You better get new friends. If you immigrate, you got to say goodbye to some of your friends and family. Say, you know what? I'll come for a visit, but I ain't living there anymore. You want to be successful? Go for a visit to people who are trying to bring you down. But don't stay there. Don't live there. Love your family. Choose your peer group. Peer group will affect you more than anything else. Learning new values. When I came to Canada, one of my first jobs was to deliver flyers. And I worked for 14-hour day. It was super hot. And the guy paid me $25 for the entire day. Not per hour, for the entire day. I mean, if you don't have social insurance number, it might become tough, right? $25 was the entire month worth of money back in Poland. I thought I'm going to be rich until I went to buy certain things here. Learn the values. Learn how to evaluate things. Adopting to new culture, because when you're between successful people, you have to adopt to the people who are there. The more time you spend there, the more you will become just like them. Even if you don't make the sales at the beginning, just simply by osmosis, by being around them, you're going to start adopting their culture. You're going to have to also spend minimum time. If you want to immigrate to Canada, they'll tell you 3 years minimum until you get your papers, right? 3 years minimum. In a successful world, you got to spend time. You just can't sit in the office watching TV, and sit at home and hope that, you know what, I started the journey. No. You have to spend time with successful people. What is success? Well, I tell you what, success is life on your terms. If you do not have a life on your terms, you do not have a success. I don't care how much money you have. I want to show you something, why I want this freedom to you. My mother-in-law, this is my mother-in-law, Maria, she had a stroke about 15 years ago. Half of her body is paralyzed. She couldn't speak. And her father, my wife's father-in-law, her husband, took care of her. And it was a full-time job. It was not easy for him. Neither it was for her. But one day we get this phone call that also he had a stroke. So now we got two people that we got to take care of, me and my wife. And it's a full-time job. And at that point, I realized how important it is to have that financial freedom, because at that moment, I had to look in the eyes of my wife and tell her, don't worry, hon, I'm not going to work today, or the next week, or the whole month, or the next 3 months, because this is my priority right now. And we won't lose $1. That's freedom. And that's why I want you to have it. Not because I want you to have an extra car or a house. Those things are nice. But I want you to have that choice. When stuff like this happens, you have a choice to do what you want to do. And in all this, when we were literally running back and forth to the hospital, we got another phone call from another doctor that says, bring your daughter immediately, because most likely she has cancer and she has to be operated. In this whole thing, we're like, imagine thinking at this moment, I got to pay this bill. What about my next client? What about this, if I don't make this sale, they're going to take my house away. I want you guys to make the choices. Not because, oh, I want this beautiful Tesla. But when stuff like this happens in your life, you're free to do what you need to do. I'm going to make it very quick for you to understand what is it that I'm presenting. The 3 M's to success. It's first is a motive, your why, right? Your intent. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. The second one is your mindset. That is extremely important. If you don't have the right mindset, you will never be successful. And the third one is the mechanics. You actually have to know how to do this. But the mechanics, I tell you right now, the blueprint of your mind, it's 20%, and motive and mindset are 80% of your success. If you don't have the right motive, you don't have the mindset, the mechanics will not work. So I'm going to make a quick proposition for you. This is what this is my passion for everybody who is struggling, because I really want you guys to stop struggling if you are. It's a ticket. When you can get today, you can get a copy of my book. You just come to my table right there, and you can get a copy that's a $25 value. Then the next one is a 3 one-on-one coaching session with me, where I can look at what you're doing, look exactly where you want to be, create the bridge between where you are to where you want to be, and then we'll figure out a path so we know exactly how to get there. Then you get 10 months of mastermind Zoom meetings. So every month we're going to meet on the internet, and we're going to collaborate with other people, other challenges, struggles. We'll discuss those things, and you guys can have also participation in this. It's a mastermind. The last one is a 2-day seminar. It's going to be a small group of people where we can sit down and discuss all the things that you have as a challenge. I want you guys to create a business that you own, not operate. When you operate the business, you cannot leave. If you leave for a month or two and you're losing revenue, you don't own the business owns you. Okay? Remember this. If you cannot leave your business for minimum 3 months, come back, and the business didn't lose revenue, you do not own a business. Business owns you. So the total value of the whole thing is $1,425. If you guys sign up today, I'm going to knock off $1,000, and I'm going to make it $425 for anyone. The value of this is so much more than what I'm charging. And trust me, this amount will not make a difference in my pocket, but it will make a difference in your life. Because at one point, when I felt that my life was pretty much like a slave, I was looking for that freedom, and I said, if I'll find that path, if I'll become free, I want that for everybody else. And I want you guys to have the same thing. See me at my booth, okay? And we can sign up for whoever wants to come.